In today's episode of the podcast, we are thinking about your well-being as it relates to your mental health. I am your host, Elle Edwards, founder of the Faith and Business Playground. I am here with coaching, training, and this podcast to help you embrace your inner weirdo so you can make Jesus CEO of your life and business. And as ever, if you want help with this, if you'd like to explore what that might look like, if you're just not sure and you want to have a little chat, go to faithandbusinessplayground.com/talk. In the meantime, let's crack on, because this is one of my favorite verses in the Bible. I know I say that quite a lot. I do have quite a few favorites, but this is one of my favorites because, as you might have heard me say before, I maintain that God wrote the book on personal development. I believe that the very first personal development book ever written was the Bible and is the Bible. And the verses I'm going to share with you today are an example of that. So we are in Philippians. It's Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. And it says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." I'm shortcutting this as think lovely thoughts is how I'm encapsulating that. Now, what's fascinating to me is that if you've heard me talk about the reticular activating system before, the things that we focus on, our brains will filter in more of the same. And so I love the fact that Paul, by telling us to think about lovely things, all this really good stuff, noble, pure, right, lovely, admirable, praiseworthy, excellent, by telling us and exhorting on us, because actually that little section in my Bible says final exhortations, like a final plea. This stuff, remember this stuff. By leaving us with that in that book, he is reminding us that actually by thinking about lovely things, this is how God can help you have more of the same. And it makes your day-to-day life more delightful and more lovely. And so, like I say, one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite verses is because I've had experience of this myself. And maybe if you've been listening along for a little while, you might have tried this yourself as well. I've told you before, the reticular activating system, it does lots of cool stuff, but it filters things. And it is the reason, ultimately, it's the reason why the law of attraction works. God set out the law of attraction, which, secular, mainstream personal development stuff has taken. They talk to the universe, we talk to the creator of the universe. God, in his love and his wisdom and his goodness, there are people who use the law of attraction without ever thinking they are talking to God, and it works for them because he is just so gracious and amazing and loving. And it just blows my mind. But part of the reason how the law of attraction works is that by focusing on those things that are your goals, those things that are important to you, your brain will then filter in examples of how you can make that stuff happen. And this is what it relates to in this verse as well. So if you consciously start paying attention to those things that are lovely, you will find that you start noticing more of the same. It's how I became a silver lining spotter. I can't help myself now. Everything is, but at least. This thing happens, but at least. And the more you do it, it becomes automatic. It becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, how this relates to you and your well-being is that, as I've said earlier in the week, your brain, your body, your mind, all of it is connected. And your mind, I believe, is the most powerful part of it. This game is won or lost between our ears. And Henry Ford is said to have, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I don't know if he actually said that, but that's what it's attributed to him. But these days with the internet, I'm not entirely sure if he actually ever said it. But that's what people say he said, or one of the things he said. And it's true. I mean, think about this from a weight loss perspective. I've always been a curvy girl. And the times when I used to go on a diet and I would decide, right, this is it, I'm going to do it. And I'd made that decision and I just did it for a time until I fell off the wagon until about 18 months ago. And now I do stuff because it's fun, and that's another conversation for another day. But you make a decision and it's almost like the world seems to move around to make it happen. It's your brain filtering that stuff in, and God created your brain. And so what I want to remind you today is that you are reminded literally in the Bible, because I just read it to you, you are reminded by God to really pay attention to those things that are lovely. And that's not like we're going to put our fingers in our ears. If there's something bad that happens and we go, no, I'm not saying that. It's not about denying the stuff that happens, because let's be honest, rubbish things happen day by day. Hopefully today you're having a lovely day. But even if you're having the most loveliest of days, something vaguely irritating will probably happen. But what's interesting is that depending, as you get to the end of the day and you reflect back on all the lovely things, it almost makes it so that the irritating stuff, oh yeah, there was that thing and it happened. And no, I'm not talking about the big tragic stuff, like when we lose people, when, really bad stuff happens. I'm not suggesting that you can magically make your day feel amazing if you've lost somebody really close to you. It's not about that. I don't mean that at all. But every single day, things will happen that are lovely, things will happen that are annoying. And where you choose to focus, that's what you will remember as you reflect on at the end of the day. And your brain is going to help you with that by filtering in more of the same. I should add as well at this point, one of my favorite quotes ever. It's every day may not be wonderful, but there's something wonderful in every day. And as I was talking about tragic stuff, like I've heard stories, you talk to people about some of the worst days of their lives, and yet they still somehow get the strength to see goodness in those situations. I mean, not necessarily when you're slap bang in the middle of it, when it's really raw, but with the benefit of time and with the benefit of healing, that, it can feel less and less raw, and you can actually see how God is using that for good. So I just want to put that out there as an add-on to this conversation, because we mentioned those really difficult days. Every day may not be wonderful, but there's something wonderful in every day. And it relates to, and we don't know who said that, by the way. It's an unattributed quote, but I love it. I wish I'd said it first, because then it could be me that said it. But it relates to God reminding us, to whatever's true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable. If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, I can't say that word, praiseworthy, think about such things. God is reminding you to keep your eyes open and pay attention to the lovely things in your day to day, because it will, the benefit of it will make you have a lovely enjoying that moment. It will also signal to your brain that stuff is important to you. And then maybe later in the day, when you reflect on the day and remember that lovely thing, you get a third hit of nice feelings. So it's just amazing to me, and just blows my mind the way that our brains are put together by God. It's just incredible. But I do just want to encourage you. And if you're somebody that finds it difficult, because none of it, what I want to encourage you with very briefly, and then we are going to end this episode, but what I want to encourage you as well is that remind you of that our brains are not rigid and fixed. It used to be that the neuroscientists thought that by the time you're an adult, you're a done deal. But now the more recent science is that our brains, the neuroplasticity is the proper name for it. And sometimes I forget that name. I remembered it today. Woohoo! But neuroplasticity, see, I can't say it now. It basically says the things that you can lay down new pathways in your brain effectively. So by thinking lovely thoughts, by drawing your attention to the nice stuff, you are making those pathways stronger to the positive things and the good things and the lovely things. So if you're somebody who thinks, oh, well, no, it's no good, I've always been negative, doesn't matter. You can retrain your brain. That said, if you need help, because sometimes it can be difficult to do that work on your own, if you would like some help with that, if you want to chat about how you might try that out on a day-by-day basis, what that might look like for you, go to faithandbusinessplayground.com/talk. And we can talk about it, because I love talking about this stuff. It's some of the brain happiness, brain geekery stuff. It's just brilliant to me. It's one of my favorite topics. So I'd love to chat with you about that. So that's my invitation to you. We'll be back tomorrow with the final episode in this week-long exploration of youier well-being. With laughter is medicine is what we are focusing on tomorrow. And yes, there is a Bible verse for that. You might be wondering. But in the meantime, thank you for listening. As ever, it's been my pleasure to share this with you. Take care. Bye-bye.